Inside the 18, I'm Michael Magid, live in Hollywood, California. With me, you know him as Pro GK Academy, the one and only Omar Zini, and back again because he just keeps getting asked back to the show just over and over and over again. You know him as our European expert, the one and only senior goalkeeper analyst for The Athletic, Matt Pyzdrowski. What is up, dude?
Not much. Happy to be back, guys. Always an honor. It feels good. I feel like I'm becoming like an honorary member of the crew, so it's definitely feels nice.
Well, you know, the thing is people keep asking for you to come back. So, by the way, Omar, you might want to mute when you're not talking because we're hearing a crackle going on right there.
Oh, from me?
Yeah, I think so. I think it might be coming from your side. A crackle. Is anybody else hearing that, or is that from me? Yeah, it's coming from you. Okay, cool. What is it coming from him? Matt? Okay. All right. Well, we'll do that again. Anyway, Matt, it's good. It's good to have you back. And the reason is because a lot of people keep asking for you back because they love your European knowledge, you know, your understanding of the European game, all the leagues up there, all the great work that you do with The Athletic. I think a lot of people have reached out and they said, you know, that they've actually been checking out all the work at The Athletic now because of the fact that we've had yourself on, we've had, you know, Joe Lowry on, you know, we've had obviously, you know, Daryl and Taylor on in the past, you know, and so it's really cool that people are now gravitating towards the content because they're finding about it from here. So man, we're just excited that Europe's back and in full swing, dude. So you know, let's kind of get rocking and rolling. Before we do that though, real quick, I want to give a shout out to Alex Bordeaux, insider Alex Bordeaux, who is joining our other insider Damian Loss over at Fulham. He just signed over at Fulham in the last couple of weeks. So congratulations to Alex and Damian, and also to Fulham for moving up to the Premier League. We're really excited. Obviously, a massive club for the fact that they're moving back up to the Premier League is kind of well deserved, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, they can last a little longer this time than they did last time. But it's a club that deserves to be in the Premier League. I mean, at least since I've been growing up, they've been up there, and obviously with the American connection, it's always, I think all of us kind of have a little heart for that club. So hopefully they can get some stability and put something, you know, nice on the pitch next year.
Yeah, Omar, I know you grew up in the days of Full America, so we always love seeing Fulham back up in the Premier League.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to Craven Cottage, honestly. And the stadium looks really intimate. It's not as big as the other stadium, so I think that gives you the crowd kind of overbearing. And I think as a goalkeeper, it might suck if you're the away team. But I think as a supporter of the game and somebody who just enjoys the game, I think that's one place that I've definitely wanted to go to. But honestly, I just wanted to – oh, sorry, guys. Someone just called me. But I think I also want to give a shout-out to David Raya. I'm sorry about the goal he conceded yesterday. I mean, everyone's been talking about it. And I think, like I told my friends yesterday, I said, whenever a goalkeeper makes a mistake, I always am the first person that is a parent, a coach, a fan of the game will DM me and call me and say, did you see what just happened? And I told my friends yesterday that it happens so often for the Kepa and De Gea games that I started to schedule everything around Chelsea and Man United games just so that I wouldn't have to miss any of the action, just because those two have been, you know, mistake prone the entire year. But yeah, with Raya, I definitely feel bad for him. And everyone's throwing around the numbers about, $200-something million that he cost the team. And even Brentford, for example, they said they've been in the playoff 10 times and they haven't made it. So it's just been a very I'm sure as a fan, seeing that is just, the icing on the cake for them.
I have a question about that, Matt. Would Brentford be able to, because, I've seen the things in La Liga and other leagues when a team has gotten promoted, and because they didn't have the facilities to play at that level, they weren't allowed to come up. It seems like Brentford's facility is not at the Premier League standard. Like how would that work out? It's a tiny little venue.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They would have managed, for sure. They would have managed, whether it was by their own means or having some, external benefactors kind of coming in and pumping some money into the club. But yeah, God, I feel terrible for him. It's because he's been so good, Raya, for Brentford this whole season. He's been excellent. And then it's like, but that's the life of the keeper, right? You can be so good for a long period of time, and then you just have one moment of lapse in concentration, because that's all it was. His positioning, for me, his positioning is fine because of how far the free kick is. And you kind of see right before the kick is taken, his attention is forward instead of on the ball. He's watching the back line, worrying about the service in. And to be fair, the striker deserves a ton of credit for kind of noticing, where he was, and took advantage. And it's just unfortunate for Brentford that cost the promotion. But again, that's the life of a keeper. And hopefully he learns from this and comes back next year stronger. And I mean, he's got a bright future. He's I hope he rediscovers everything that he kind of did this year, next year, and just kind of keeps pumping forward.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was actually, I know this is not what a lot of Fulham fans were looking forward to, or obviously Brentford fans, but I was hoping for a all Welsh Wembley final for promotion to the Premier League between Cardiff and Swansea. I wanted to see what would have happened in that situation, because talk about it always seems like one of those clubs is the one representing Wales in the Premier League at some point. So, but anyway, guys, let's move on into the Champions League, which is what everybody's here tuned in for. It's back. It's kind of back. It's back in a hybrid MLS is back format, which is going to be very interesting. But for those of you guys who are unfamiliar, Matt, why don't you kind of break down how this Champions League format is working for this round of 16 finals and the quarterfinals all the way through the finals in Lisbon? Yeah,
it actually, I remember when the draw came out, I was a little confused myself, because I was like, wait, there's 12 teams listed, but this is the seeding for the quarterfinals. I'm like, how did that happen? And I told it because so much time had passed between the last games. So obviously there were 4 teams who were still involved in their round of 16 matchup. So Leipzig, Atletico are in, Atalanta, PSG are in, and then Madrid City plays. City's up 2-1. Lyon, Juventus, Lyon's up 1-0. Napoli, Barca 1-1, and then Chelsea's down 0-3 to Bayern.
We don't even need to bring up that game. That game is going to be. They're going to play academy kids in that game. I don't understand. Omar, does Chelsea have, outside of Caballero, is there another goalkeeper that they would even put in? Because I'm guessing Kepa has lost his leash. He's out, right, completely.
Do we want to get into that topic now, or do you want to save it for the main stuff?
Maybe we'll save that in for the main stuff. All right, so let's just talk about this in general. Guys, I'll bring it up to Omar first. Is this a good idea to do this tournament right now? Is this necessary? Do we need to finish the Champions League outside of just the money and the TV on the line?
As a fan, yes, 100%. And I think, a lot of these guys had a long layoff from, the COVID situation. So I think these guys are probably itching to play. And if there's money on the line and they can, almost have this be a continuation of their current season, or like last few games that they had in the Premier League, Serie A, in France, I think if they're fit, I would want to play as a player. And I think obviously financial stuff comes into play where your team makes a certain amount of money off of, television rights and all that. So I think if I'm a player and I can continue to play and be at my best shape, but also to continue to make money if my team advances, I'm personally going to say yes, but it just depends on when the next season starts. So this continuation, I don't know when it's going to end, probably going into September. And in September, I don't know when the next season starts. So as long as they have enough time in between the end of this season and the start of next season, I think it should be fine.
Matt, thoughts?
Yeah, it has to be played. For me, there's not going to be any issues now. It's kind of like what Omar said. It's for the teams who maybe get to the finals, because they're going to have a really, really short break before their next year's season starts, just because it's going to be bang, bang. I think that's where some issues could arise when we're talking about injuries and fatigue. It's probably at the start of next season. But like as a fan as well, as Omar said, this is the dream. It's like from now until basically the end of August, you have games almost every night, from Europa League to Champions League, and, high level, high quality, a lot at stake. This is the dream, and obviously we would have had European championships this summer, but, those will wait to next year. And it's just like, as a fan, the next 2 years, it's just like, it's so juicy because you just have so many important things, happening right now and on the line in the future. And it's like, this is the dream. Like, this is what we live for as fans.
And I'm kind of thinking as a high level goalkeeper too. You're in a very advantageous position because there's going to be so many fixtures. There's going to be so much squad rotation. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for a lot of goalkeepers, to get their moment. I mean, Omar and I, even off the air, we were talking about the fact of like, well, who's playing this weekend for Champions League for Napoli? Is it going to be Espina or is it going to be Merritt? There's going to be a chance for a lot of guys with a lot of good level to consistently get matches. So let's kind of jump into these. Let's start off with the first matches. Let's start off with the Friday matches, and let's talk about Man City versus Real. This is obviously going to be the Ederson versus Courtois matchup right there. What are you thinking? It's 2-1 right now on aggregate for City. Is this the year that City goes deep?
I don't know if it's the year that City goes deep, but I think they're going to win this fixture because they're at home. I just expect them, especially with the way and the form that they've kind of been in and the way that the season in the Premier League didn't exactly, of course they finished second, but so far behind Liverpool, I think they're just kind of really extra motivated for the Champions League. And I think Pep's going to have them prepared. And I would be surprised, as good as Madrid is, I would be surprised if City doesn't win at home.
Yeah. Omar, anything to add on that?
I mean, obviously when you have fans in the stadium, I think that home field advantage definitely does help. But I think in this one, the way that Real Madrid's been playing and Courtois too, I mean, again, that's something that we need to talk about as well as Navas is doing in Ligue 1. I think Courtois has really silenced a lot of his haters. Coming back, I think I'm a Barcelona fan and my friends are Real Madrid fans, some of them. So we've been kind of, in the group chat going back and forth about, goalkeepers and obviously Real Madrid winning the league. So Courtois for me has always been that person who I'm always trying to, discuss, okay, him and Navas, his decision, his negativity, all that. And he really shut me up after coming back. Now he has 18 shutouts in the European season, which is the most across all goalkeepers in the European setup. So I think he's on his game. I mean, he almost got knocked out against Villarreal. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was kind of like a Petr Cech situation, 1v1. He came out and he got kneed in the head, and his head like rebounded and hit off the grass pretty hard. But I think he's at the top of his game. Ederson, again, in that situation at Man City, he doesn't have to do too much. And the last two games, I think it was 5-0 against Watford or against Norwich, and then 4-0 against Watford and Norwich. So I think he hasn't had to do too much. And I think Real Madrid with Benzema right now, who is firing on all cylinders, I think, in my opinion, I think they have the edge here. And again, aggregate goals will come into play, but I think with Courtois playing the way he is and Real Madrid's attack playing as well as they have, and Ederson not being as challenged as much, I think Real Madrid will take this one.
Hold on, I want to bring that up though about Ederson because I don't know about you, Matt, but I think that Ederson's been in form lately for City. I think he's been playing really, really well. Those last couple matches, he had some moments where I've been judgmental of Ederson in regards to his decision making on where he steers balls, but he's been playing balls into really good spots. He hasn't been taking as many risks as I'd seen him doing before the restart. I honestly think City, if they had been playing like this throughout the entire season, I think, man, I mean, it would have been not the gap that we had between them and Liverpool by any stretch of the imagination. And Real, I mean, honestly, I thought Courtois was dead in the water back in January. I don't know, Omar, how you felt about that, but I really, really felt that was kind of the direction it was going. It's a toss-up for me, man. I think City makes it to the semifinals this year, personally, depending on how the seedings go. Let's move on a little bit here. Let's move on to Juve and Lyon. I don't know how much Ligue 1 you guys watch. Do either of you guys watch a fair amount of Ligue 1? I love the grin that Matt's got on his face right there. We're like, Ligue 1, that's PSG, and then there's like Lyon every once in a while, and like Monaco every once in a while, basically. But they're kind of a sleeper when it comes to Champions League and Europa League. They went really far in Europa League. I think it was the year before. Matt, what do you know about Anthony Lopez, the Portuguese international that they got?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like a bit of him over the years, but I'd be lying if I said that was an expert on him. Obviously I had watched some highlights and took a peek at Y Scout earlier before we were hopping on. And he's a good goalkeeper. Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, you don't play for the Portuguese national team and for Lyon, if you're not. To me, he's super aggressive. He loves to fly off his line. He loves to throw his body about. It's a very fine line because you can kind of be erratic at times, which as well I've seen. But I mean, like he's a fun guy. Like he's passionate. You can tell like he leaves it all out on the field every single match. And it'll be an interesting game to watch because I think he and Chesney are so different. Because Chesney, to me, he's just kind of like he's in a lot of ways, and I mean this in like the biggest compliment. He's just a safe goalkeeper. He kind of does what's expected of him. He's kind of taken over. I mean, it's actually amazing how well he's done since Buffon left. That's not an easy role to fill, filling in for a legend like that. And he's kind of stepped in seamlessly and done an excellent job. So from like a goalkeeper fan perspective, it'll be a fun game to watch just because, and especially for like young kids, I think it's a great game to watch because there's two different contrasting styles that you'll get to kind of observe and learn from. And, see if you can pick a thing or two up from it.
One thing about Lopez recently that I've been watching is obviously he has been in form, and as a smaller goalkeeper at about 6 feet tall or so, the guy is just quick. I mean, he is quick. He's that lightning quick kind of like Shea Given like speed that you used to see of guys of that smaller frame, even though Given was a little bit thicker. Omar, have you seen a lot of Lopez lately?
I have, yeah. I would say, building off Matt's point, I think he's definitely very passionate, wears his heart on his sleeve. One of those guys that you watch and you go, all right, this guy will make a sprawling save, and the easy ones, maybe one that kind of just goes in between his legs, or he gives a bad rebound. Yeah. And I think that is he's a little too eccentric for my taste. But I think against Juve, in a situation like this, and if you watch the cup final this past week, PSG versus Lyon, he had an amazing game, unreal game, and save after save after save. And I think with Dybala, Ronaldo, Higuain, all these guys who obviously have incredible shots, I think he's the kind of goalkeeper that needs to be in that goal for Lyon to face all those shots and obviously maintain that 1-0 lead. The only cause for concern that I have for him right now is that in this cup final, let's say, for example, best case scenario for Juve, they tie it up, they go 1-1, they end up going to PKs. Best case scenario for Juve is the fact that Lopez this past weekend against PSG went out of the 6 PKs he faced, he went 5 times the wrong way. So I don't know if in his mind he's not confident about PKs or he just guesses wrong. But I think if it goes to PKs and it does get to that point, I think Juve has a significant advantage in that position. And to what Matt said about Chesney, again, I was an Arsenal guy when he was there, and not Arsenal guy. I was a fan of Arsenal when he was there, and obviously Arsenal's teams
people are starting to Google. They're like, when did Omar was in Arsenal Academy? There's all these rumors coming around now.
I actually took a tour. Side little funny story. I took a tour at Arsenal Stadium, at Emirates Stadium, and they give you this opportunity to take a picture, and they put your picture on this newspaper title that says Zini signs for Arsenal or something like that. And I took a picture of the Arsenal scarf and I had my Arsenal jersey, and I posted it on my Instagram story, and someone saw that and they were like, "Oh my God, congratulations, coach. Didn't know you still played." And I was like, nah, I'm sorry. I was like, let me burst your bubble real quick. I did not sign for Arsenal, but yeah, it was a cool little perk. But yeah, I think when I used to watch Chesney with Arsenal, I think he obviously was still young. I mean, Trevor loves telling a story about him with the cigarette and Wenger walking in on him smoking the cigarette in the shower and all that. But he was still immature. And I think with, backing up Buffon for as many years as he did, we started to realize, wow, okay, this guy has potential. As long as he can kind of, his bad boy attitude can kind of, just keep it off the field and don't bring it into the locker room, I think he'll be a good goalkeeper. And like Matt said, he's a safe guy. One of those guys you put out there, he'll make the saves he needs to make. And every once in a while, he'll make that save just outside of his range. And I think Lyon is probably going to be playing a little bit defensive. I know Memphis Depay has had a few good games in the last few weeks, but I think as of right now, I'm having to go with Juve. I think they'll come back, and if it goes to PKs, they'll have that advantage because, as we all know, you go into a PK shootout, you don't guess right a few times, it messes with your head. You lose the PK shootout, and then you face with one a week later. I think in my head, he's probably going to be in his head about it. So we'll see what happens. But I think right now Juve has the lead for me.
It's definitely going to be fun to watch. I honestly, with Szczesny, it's one of those situations where a lot of people keep questioning whether he is that next level goalkeeper where he can kind of come up with that. And he has come up with those moments, including in the Champions League. Has come up with those moments. But I just think it's just so hard to fill Buffon's shoes, Matt. I don't know. I don't know how anyone even does it. And then when his shadow is still literally there, it's got to be even more difficult.
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, I think he's done a hell of a job. And in a lot of ways, I think he's kind of like the perfect succession for him because he obviously was there before he took the role. So like we've been talking about, he got to learn from Buffon, which is just, you don't get that type of insight and mentorship ever in your career. And it looks like it helped him a lot. And I don't think he needs to be the guy who makes like a ton of amazing saves because of the way that Juventus plays. And obviously in the Champions League, maybe he would be called upon probably a little bit more than he does in Serie A, just because of the way Juventus has dominated Serie A for the last decade. But like Omar said, like he has that in him. He has it in him. Maybe not in the way that, we see from, some of the other goalkeepers we'll talk about later. But I think he's kind of exactly what Juventus needs. And I mean, he fits the role and he's a perfect piece for that puzzle.
Let's move on into the game that I think a lot of people are excited about because the fact is that Barca, let's just be honest, they're going to be out for blood. They're going to be out for blood based on the way things finished in La Liga. There's been a lot of turmoil over there, for lack of a better term. Shout out to American Conrad De La Fuente, who's getting he's on the roster. I mean, I don't know if he's going to play, but that's still pretty darn awesome. We got an American on the first team at Barcelona, who hopefully will suit up this weekend. I want to talk a little bit about Napoli because, like, again, Omar and I, we had this discussion earlier, Matt. Alex Merritt versus David Ospina. Who do you go with?
I think Ospina is going to play just because he's played a majority of the matches this year. I don't really have much more in depth to say than that. I just think he's going to play. I think you go with the guy who's been there. I don't think this is the type of game where you're going to be taking any chances, and I think he's just kind of the safe option. And it's going to be a tough match for Napoli because, like you just said, Barcelona is going to come out or at least we expect them to come out firing. Them being the team at home. I mean, I think they're just going to go for it, and I would be very, very surprised if they're not the team who advances.
Yeah. Omar, anything you want to add?
No, I think, with Barcelona, I think I tell you guys a quick story. My team, I was like under 14, and I remember we were winning all these games at U13 level, and then all of a sudden everyone hit maturity level. So everybody was the same size, the same heights, the same speed. So our team, we had some guys who were unbelievably quick. And I think that's what Barcelona has been, They've been my U13 team for so long. And then finally they're at that level now where everybody's caught up to them. And they keep telling themselves, we're going to find the glory. We're going to find the glory. We're going to do it. We're going to start winning games. And my team, we get, one win. And then all of a sudden we think everything's fixed. The next game we get thrashed 3-4-0. So I'm thinking with Barcelona right now, they're at that level where they were so good for so long that one game they think is probably going to fix it. But for some reason, they haven't been able to have consistent level of games. That's why Real Madrid came back into the picture and ended up winning the league. So I think with Barcelona, I think if one thing goes wrong, if Napoli does score or just something goes wrong, man, everything's going to hit the fan. And I just don't feel comfortable going with Barcelona at the moment just because of that. I think, they have enough players to win games, but I don't think I don't know. I just don't feel like this long layover is going to do them any good. And with Ter Stegen, obviously, I think he's going to be a baller. He's unbelievable, probably the best goalkeeper in the world, up there with Oblak and Alisson for me. And I think he'll keep Barcelona in it, like we saw against Dortmund, that PK save and multiple other saves he had against them. And I think he's going to do what he needs to do. But David Ospina is no joke either. If you watch, I mean, I suggest everybody go watch the semifinal, Coppa Italia semifinal against Juve or against Inter. Just go watch that game, and you're gonna see all the proof you need to see that this guy's a gamer and this guy's going to be up for the challenge. He had save after save after save, and I just think that he's going to come in against Barcelona too. And you need, just like I said with Lopez, Leon versus Juve, you got a three-headed monster for Barcelona, and I think a goalkeeper who's in form like Ospina, I think that's definitely going to be one to watch in terms of save percentage. And I think somebody like him who loves making shot-stopping saves, show-stopping saves, I think he's the guy to be there. So I think I'm going to go with Napoli if they get an early lead, but Barcelona if their Stegen plays well.
I want to talk about this because I think a lot of people who haven't been watching. There's a lot of people who don't watch Serie A because it's not as readily available in the United States as other leagues are. And David Ospina, I think has fit in so well at Napoli. Napoli, in regards to just the way he's been playing. He's been so composed. He's been making really, really, really good decisions. He's very clean. I've always been a David Ospina fan. I think his footwork is very good in regards to his lateral movement. For, again, a guy who's not a bigger giant type of a guy, he covers a lot of ground, which I think is just so important. Matt, are you concerned about Barca's defense? It's been a little shaky.
Yeah, I mean, I think a bit concerned just in general with the way that the team has been playing as of late. But I do again, it's the Champions League. It's in a lot of ways, and maybe this is a faulty comparison, but kind of like City, because they have something to prove. Obviously City's been in incredible form. That's the difference compared to Barcelona, but I still I expect Barcelona to show up. I expect them to qualify for the next round. That's my gut feeling. Obviously I think you can only take history so far as an example, because obviously this is a different team. This is the now, and what happens, this weekend is what's going to matter. But I expect them to advance. I expect Ter Stegen to perform because he has performed for a majority of this year. And I mean, he's a top 3 goalkeeper in my eyes in the world.
Absolutely.
So it's when you have a goalkeeper like that at the back, I just trust the team. Even if the team isn't in the best form, he's the type of guy who's going to make the big save when his team needs it. And because he's done it. He's done it over and over again, and I put my money on him. If I was a betting guy, I would definitely be buying Ter Stegen stock going into this game, and I think it'll be kind of the de facto difference maker.
Do we even want to do this game, Bayern Chelsea? I mean, it is. I know. I feel so bad for Chelsea. And if anybody out there who's watching the show right now is not familiar with what's going on at Chelsea, it's I think I might be suiting up this weekend for Chelsea. It is a rough situation after that FA Cup final. Omar, why don't you just for the audience out there, because I know you've posted quite a bit of content in regards to the Caballero Kepa situation. What are your thoughts right now?
I mean, poor guy. Kepa's going through the ringer right now, unfortunately. I mean, it's his own doing, but I think, again, when you have that big of a price tag at that young of an age, everyone expects the world from you. And unfortunately, I don't think he was ready to step into that position. I think he still had, with Bilbao, a few more years of fine-tuning. Mentally, I don't think he was ready. And as we talked about a few weeks ago, when you start watching the team yell at him after he makes a mistake or concedes a goal, you can tell there's a lot of stuff going on in the locker room. And then you hear about Lampard every single week in England. Here in the States too, you're hearing about him looking for a new goalkeeper and trying to bring someone else in, and then dropping Kepa for the final, and then you have Caballero coming in. There's not much trust there. So when you don't have trust in your coach, and the team doesn't have trust in the goalkeeper, that's when you really start to see things to crumble. So, Caballero, I don't know if he'll play in this game. I think he will, but he's a journeyman, and I think he'll be professional and step in when he needs to step in. But Kepa's just one of those guys, unfortunately, who fell victim to being given too much too soon. And I hope in the future he can rebound from this. And I don't think carry his situation as much, but I think he can find himself playing in, higher level, but somewhere else, and hopefully rebound his career. But for right now, I just don't think that he's going to get any more playing time for the rest of the season. I think they've closed that chapter now, and I think Caballero will get the remaining game. So I don't know how well Caballero will do. Chelsea's banged up, but I think they'll probably end up losing 3-4 on this game as well.
I mean, I'm picturing 7-0 on aggregate, possibly. Bayern. Bayern is unreal right now. In fact, I'd say that Bayern is one of the front runners to win the Champions League, to be honest with you. I mean, the fact that Alphonso Davies is statistically, he's one of the best outside backs in the world right now. Just crazy to say that. But I mean, this guy, who was an attacking player in MLS is now one of the best outside backs in the world. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like if Marcelo played in MLS as like a forward. It was like crazy.
Well, even if you see with Neuer, I think we got to give him credit as well. And I think from myself, I always refer back to myself because I post a lot about this stuff and I'm always up to date. But even with Courtois, I was always saying that not that his career is over, but definitely he needs to go somewhere new to refresh his mind. And luckily he was able to stay, and he had that refresher with Zidane coming back in, who had trust in him. And, that's said and done. And then obviously with Neuer too, coming back from the injuries and then the World Cup situation, I think for a while I said, I don't know if he'll ever be the same Manuel Neuer again, just because of his ankle injuries and his explosiveness. And can he redefine himself and, figure out a different way to be successful? But he's shown us, and he's shown me specifically, that he can definitely do that. And with the proper rehab and coming back with the necessary time to recover from an injury like that, he's back to his Neuer ways. And I definitely love seeing that. And I think the goalkeeping community is super excited to see him, not Caballero or Kepa, but him move on from this match.
Somewhere Sven Ulreich's like, I thought I had my chance. I thought this was it for me. Matt, let's talk about Caballero real quickly. What does the future hold for Caballero? Is he obviously? I don't see him being the number one at Chelsea next year. At 39 years of age. Not saying he can't do it, but based on the expectations that are expected, they're probably going to go out into the market and they're going to buy somebody like an Andre Onana, from Ajax or somebody of that level. I mean, there's been rumors of Dean Henderson being sold by Man United to Chelsea if they decide to not move forward with somebody else other than De Gea at Man United. So what's the next step for somebody like Caballero?
I mean, I think I would be very surprised if he leaves. I don't think he's going to go anywhere at his age to be a number one. I just don't. I think he's pretty secure, and I think he's accepted his role. I think, obviously, like, if you're a professional footballer, you always want to play. Don't get me wrong. But also, like, he's at the tail end of his career. When he went to Chelsea in the first place, like, he knew it was going to be as a backup role. So I think the situation now, it's so unique. I mean, not many managers will drop their number one that late into a season, especially with important games that were on the horizon, with trying to secure Champions League for next season, obviously the FA Cup final, and then now the Champions League knockout. So I think it's a hell of a statement by Lampard. I think, unfortunately, like Omar said, I think the writing's on the wall for Kepa. I think he was put in a really, really tough situation. I think to live up to that type of transfer fee, especially when you're that young, is incredibly difficult. I also think that kind of shows how freaking good Alisson is for Liverpool, because he was sold for almost the same amount of money, and he stepped in to also a very, very difficult situation, and he just has, succeeded with flying colors. I hope Kepa isn't just shown the door. I hope what happens is they do bring in someone like Onana. I don't think Henderson's going to go. I just think it would be a really asinine move by Manchester United to let Dean Henderson go at this point. I think you keep him on your books. If you're going to let him go anywhere, you let him go on loan. You don't sell him. Because I think a little bit of competition, and also maybe in a way, if you bring in someone like Onana, now obviously two things can happen. It can totally crush Kepa, but also it can maybe take a little bit of the pressure off of his back, and maybe that competition can kind of be good for them and kind of help raise his level. I don't think the rumors of Oblak going to Chelsea are realistic. I think to pay the type of money that Atletico is going to demand of him is going to be crazy. But if there's a goalkeeper in the world who's worth over 100 million pounds, it's Jan Oblak. But again, I just don't see it happening. So I think I would expect Chelsea to kind of go out, bring in another young guy, and light a fire hopefully under Kepa's ass, and then whoever's the best guy will play. But again, it's a really difficult situation. My heart goes out for him because I think every goalkeeper can sympathize. If you have any bit of empathy in you, you don't want to celebrate any goalkeeper going through that situation because it's the absolute worst feeling you can ever experience on the field.
Yeah. So let's talk about here. So we got the quarterfinals already lined up on some of the ends. We got Atalanta and PSG and Leipzig and Atletico, which is just going to be. I love Peter Gulacsi and him and Jan Oblak. That's going to be a really, really good matchup. Omar, I want to ask you, which goalkeeper has the most to gain in this tournament?
Most to gain. If we go down the list, I'm gonna look at my list again here. In terms of what, increasing their value, increasing their market value, increasing their position as the top goalkeeper in the world, or.
I'd say more in regards to increasing their value, showing their legitimacy at the level. I'm looking at guys like, you could go a couple ways. First off, I think Peter Gulacsi, I think him getting to showcase himself at this level, no disrespect towards the Bundesliga, but now if Leipzig can move on to the semifinals, and beat Atletico, and now they're showcasing himself at the highest of levels, I think it's going to be fantastic for him. I think he's been one of those goalkeepers that's been underrated in the world's eyes. I was high on him even back when he was at Liverpool, as a youth player, and I got to see him at Dallas Cup when I saw Omar there at Dallas Cup as well too. They were not competing against each other. They were they were there at the exact same time. Matt, is there anybody that you would specifically shout out? Gollini, Atalanta. I'm actually pretty high on Gollini. I don't know if you've seen a lot of Gollini, but he's a big, strong kid. He's a big, strong kid, and he covers ground really well. He moves. He understands angles. He keeps his shape, which is all really hard for a lot of big guys, is to keep their shape on shots.
I totally agree. I think if you're actually looking at kind of market value and who probably has been on the world stage the least amount of time, he's probably the one who has the most to gain through all this. But as well, I like Gulacsi a lot. I like him a lot. I think he's an excellent goalkeeper. I think when we're talking about a guy who is right on the cusp of world class, he's one of those guys. And I think if he got a move to, a bigger club, and again, like you said, no disrespect to the Bundesliga, no disrespect to Leipzig, if he gets a move to a bigger club, say in England, or if somehow he were to manage his way to someone like Bayern, that won't happen because you got Neuer and Nubel. But a club of that stature, I think he's got a ton to gain as well. I think a lot of the other goalkeepers are pretty secure in where they are, and I think we kind of know what to expect from them. So those are kind of my two picks.
You just brought up a really good point. Do you give Nubel this game if you're Bayern?
I actually don't even know. Is he eligible to play?
I'd assume he would be because his contract's up at Schalke. He's left.
Yeah,
it's a transfer window, so I would assume he is. And they weren't, and they're not competing. So I don't know.
Eligible to play, I agree. Give him this game for sure, without a doubt. Just because of the circumstances. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not even sure if he's eligible. I think Neuer's going to play.
Omar, what would you do?
No, I definitely think, if you want to have consistency, there's not many other games or any fixtures other than this. So I think if you want to give Neuer just some reps and to make sure that he's still sharp, definitely give him the game. But again, if Nubel is an option, I don't understand why they wouldn't give it to him, just to give him an opportunity to just to see what they purchased and what they have with him in terms of just mentality and playing at a big game like that. But no, I wanted to add on to the conversation about which goalkeeper I think has the most to prove. And in my opinion, out there, I think Courtois does. there's a few, but I think Courtois for me, obviously if Navas can continue to win with PSG and get to the final or wherever Real Madrid and PSG can meet up, that'd be amazing just to see those two go at it. But I think Courtois this whole year has been his like statement year, even from January on with Zidane coming back. And then again, no drama, having another goalkeeper, at his neck and having that competition, which obviously we saw he didn't do well with. But I think when he's the distinguished number one and his team is playing well, he has a strong, back four, back line doing well for him with Varane and Ramos. I think with him, he's finally gotten that, I guess, whatever gene that we saw from him at Atletico, we're starting to see now with Real Madrid. And I'm super excited just to see him continue this throughout the tournament. And if Real Madrid gets to the final and they end up winning, I think Courtois is probably going to have an Instagram post. He's going to tag me, Matt, Mike. We're going to tag some people who've been talking smack on him the past few years. So I'm hoping that I'm as a Barca fan, I don't want to see it, but as a goalkeeping fan and somebody who I'm happy to be proven wrong when a goalkeeper does do well, I think he's the kind of guy who shifted his mentality. I don't know how much humility he has yet, because I haven't really heard him in the press. But not hearing him in the press is something that I'm happy to see. Versus back in the day with him and Navas going at it, and you always heard him saying some snide comment about Navas, Zidane situation, or when he used to talk about Pickford and how he's a shorter goalkeeper. He's kept his mouth closed, thank God. So I'm happy to see him successful, and I'm hoping that Real Madrid can win, and I think he will definitely have the most to prove.
It's funny because I'm looking up at these matchups right now, and we could have some ridiculously incredible semifinals if things fall in a certain light. And I'm talking about from a goalkeeping matchup standpoint, which is really, I mean, it's rare a lot of times. A lot of times, you'll end up with the semifinals where you'll have a couple world class goalkeepers and then a couple of guys that are just at that tier below. But we could really have some awesome matchups here. Matt, I want to ask you about Keylor Navas and PSG. I think this might be the year that PSG finally gets over that hump and finally really, because it seems like this is kind of like that place where every year PSG drops, and including that insane Barcelona comeback a few years ago where everyone was just like, well, PSG is moving on. And then Barcelona has that unreal comeback. Can you see PSG making the finals?
Ooh, I think it's a stretch. I think this matchup with Atalanta it's tough. It's really, really tough. I think because, Atalanta has been playing really, really well for the entire season. We've been doubting them for the entire season, and it's like they just play some beautiful football. And actually, I don't like this matchup for PSG. I think it's going to be a really, really tough matchup. Huge Navas fan. I hope for Navas' sake, PSG can advance. But this is like when I look at the potential matchups or the matchups that are already set for the quarterfinals, this is the one that I wouldn't dare pick a team to go on because I could see both. And for PSG's sake, Atalanta is a very, very scary side.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right on the Atalanta. I mean, I was watching some Atalanta before the quarantine break. It's weird. It's almost like the winter break. I'm like, I was watching them before the quarantine break, and dude, I had not been watching a lot of Serie A. I'll be straight up honest, and I was like, dude, these guys have firepower. I mean, these guys
they
score.
can ball.
Oh my God, dude!
Didn't they break a record? Didn't they break a record or something like that? Yeah, for most goals in the Serie A or like in the calendar year for an Italian team. So yeah, you're right. I think they definitely have a spearheaded offense, and I think it's going to be one of those games that one of those matchups that PSG is probably going to be favored. But like you said, Atlanta, there's a reason why they're here, and I think a lot of these teams, there's a reason why they are where they are. And I think Atalanta is no exception. So, yeah, excited to see that. But again, another opportunity for Navas to keep proving to Real Madrid and everybody else who keeps saying that he's not not as good as people say he is. So, yeah,
he's incredible. I love him. I love him so much.
So good.
And I love the way he handled himself through that whole drama. I mean, even if you look back at the years before, they kept talking about like bringing De Gea in or even bringing Courtois in before they did. And Navas just continued to perform, and continue to win, and I think that's such a huge testament to how good this guy is. And I'm a huge fan of his, so like I said, I hope for his perspective that they can advance. But I wouldn't put my money on it.
Yeah. Well, I would say, Mike,
go ahead.
I just want to say one more thing to Matt's point there. I think when you look at, let's say, a young goalkeeper would have said, "Hey, coach, who should I look up to as a goalkeeper?" I would say, you know what? Look up Keylor Navas and look up exactly what happened throughout his time at Real Madrid. From the minute he got there up until the last minute that he left, I mean, he had to take over for Iker Casillas. Well, Lopez kind of did that, and then obviously he came in and took care of that. And then obviously from there, you just every single week it was like, who's going to come in for Real Madrid? They need a serious goalkeeper to be serious contenders. They need this, that, and the other. And then he wins 3 Champions Leagues, and still they want to get rid of him. They buy Fiorentino buys one of the one of the top up and coming goalkeepers in the world, Golden Glove winner at a World Cup, brings him in, and he still mentally stays focused, doesn't say a word in the press, doesn't say anything, and continues to win. So I think from a humility standpoint, from just a personality standpoint, and obviously a gamer, but everything as a person, as a goalkeeper, you put into what you want and what you aspire to be. Keylor Navas is the guy, so that's what I wanted to add to that.
Great point.
I want to bring this up before we move on to kind of our top 4 goalkeepers, in the tournament. Iker Casillas just retired, and we can't talk Champions League without bringing up Iker Casillas, because one of my favorite goalkeepers of all time, Saint Iker. He was one of my role models growing up. I would watch him, and I was like, this is the way I want to play. I loved, the way that everything from just growing up, coming up from the academy at Real Madrid, getting that chance at a young age, and then just everything he did for Spain too. The moments over and over again throughout his career, and then going to Porto, near the end of his career, and really making a name for himself over there and kind of reinventing himself. Does anybody here want to, kind of share any Iker Casillas stories before we move on?
Go ahead, sorry. No. Go ahead, Omar. Go ahead.
No, I'll make it quick. No, I think, again, I posted it yesterday, and I think growing up, when I saw Iker Casillas playing, I immediately saw, he doesn't look that tall. So I looked his height up, and he's around, people keep saying he's like 6'1", but he's like probably a 5'11 and a half, maybe 6 foot on a good day, maybe 6 foot and a half. And early on, I kind of had this idea where I said, whoa, okay, so he's playing at the highest level. And now I'm getting to that age where coaches are saying, hey, are you going to grow anymore? Can you be more than 6 feet? Most goalkeepers in the college level are 6'3", 6'4", and above, like Matt Pyzdrowski. So, we want to make sure that we want to make sure that you get to a certain height. But then I kept thinking, just like I use the example of Drew Brees in the NFL. When Drew Brees, who's like 5'11", barely 6 feet, when he's breaking the record for most touchdowns and passing yards in the NFL, when you have a shorter quarterback coming through the ranks, now a coach in their head subconsciously goes, you know what? He's kind of a Drew Brees type. And that's what I always felt like when I talk to coaches, when I always say, they always ask me, who do you model your game after? I'm like, look, honestly, I model my game after Iker Casillas, Victor Valdez. And I think, they're superb athletes, keepers. And I think when I started realizing that maybe I could just be an Iker Casillas type or a Victor Valdez type, where I wasn't the tallest, but my overall game was, something that covered up for that lack of height. That is what stuck with me with Iker Casillas forever. And I think a lot of shorter goalkeepers out there can say the same, where they always had hope and belief that maybe they could play in the Bernabeu or play in Camp Nou growing up because of a shorter goalkeeper like Iker Casillas, and win as many titles as he did. So I've messaged him, I've DM'd him. He has seen my messages but never responded. But I just said, hey, just want to let you know that you've done a lot. You've done more for the goalkeeping community than you probably know, and we want to say we appreciate that. So yeah, that's my story about him, and wish him all the best in the future. So hopefully, he's successful like he was on the pitch.
No, go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, I'll be a little quick about it too. As a smaller goalkeeper, even smaller than Omar, I really looked up to Iker Casillas because he was one of the first goalkeepers who I saw make it to that elite level where I was like, it was realistic to me to model my game after. I couldn't relate to Buffon. Just I'm not built like that guy, and yes, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love, John Bush, Nick Raimondo, all guys like that. But, he was playing at the highest of levels and winning championships, and coming in as so young at Real Madrid and then holding on to that position for as many years throughout the Mourinho situation, everything, he still lived on. it was just absolutely phenomenal, and just honestly one of the best, one of the best point blank. Kind of like Navas, one of the best point blank savers, in the world at one point. Just could come up with that save when necessary for Madrid, and I'll end it right there. So.
Yeah, all I was gonna say is like, I think if there's anybody out there who reflects on his career and doesn't say he was one of the best goalkeepers ever to, put on the gloves and lace up the boots, they're insane, because he was just so good for so long, and he broke through as a really young lad, and that's the thing as well. Like, he got thrust into the role with Madrid and then as well with Spain at a really, really young age, and that's not easy to do, and that takes a lot of guts. He gets a lot of credence for that. For me, the memory that will always stick with me is just that save against Sevilla. Every time I see the highlights, I still expect that thing to go in. It's where he tracks the ball across his goal line and just throws himself. And the crazy thing is, he made 2 or 3 or 4 of those saves in his career. And like you said, Michael, like, he just point blank reaction saves, like that was his specialty. But he was so fun to watch. I remember seeing him when Madrid came over and did one of their first tours in the United States. They played at Soldier Field, and I just remember watching him warm up. And my friend and I, we were, just like watching his every move, because at the time I think he was 23 years old. And the legend was just beginning. But it's like we were just soaking in everything that we could. And I mean, to watch the way his career just progressed from that point, it was marvelous.
Yeah. All right, we've come to that moment. Omar, you're actually here this time to present your top 4 of a tournament for the first.
I've been doing well, man. I've been doing real well. Even with NWSL, I've been killing it. MLS, I killed it. No one picked Gulacsi. I did.
Yeah.
Man, I should have picked Steve Clark. I don't know what I was doing. I messed up on that one, but
you did pick Steve Clark.
Oh, I did? No, I did. Oh, then great. I got him.
Steve Clark, Pedro Gallese, Andre Blake, and Quentin Westberg were your choices.
There we go. I messed up on the Quentin Westberg one, but still, I thought Toronto had a good team. Anyways, okay, so top 4.
Yeah, you start, Omar.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Courtois. Like I said, I think he has a lot to prove, and I think if Madrid can turn this tie back to normal, or to obviously 2-2, or I don't even know what the aggregate is anymore. I'm sorry. I'm hoping that Courtois and Madrid go through for this one to check off my list. I think it's 2-1
right now.
Yeah, I think Madrid will win this one. I think, and with Courtois again having a lot to prove, I think he's had to have a full head of steam, and I think he is one of my picks for sure. Second, I'm going to go with Oblak, because it's Oblak, and I think he's one of the most consistent goalkeepers we've seen in a long, long time. And when you don't hear about somebody in the news, when you don't hear about them at all, only just like, hey, how much money can this guy get from a deal? I think that is the end-all, be-all for a lot of us. It's just don't hear stuff in the news, but if they do, make sure there's 9 digits behind that. Make sure the numbers are up there, making sure we're hot on the market. My third one is probably going to be Neuer, just because of his kind of second coming. I think he's doing extremely, extremely well with his newfound confidence. And like we talked about Bayern, they're doing extremely well. And Alphonso Davies has been that bright spot for them. And Kingsley Coman, all those guys with so much speed. And I think their offense is going to be ridiculous. And I think with Neuer, like Matt said earlier about Ter Stegen, when you have a solid goalkeeper back there, you feel confident the team's going to win. So I think with Neuer back there, and then with Real Madrid, hopefully, sealing this tie up and going to the semifinals or quarterfinals and seeing who they draw. We'll see what happens there. And my last pick, man, this is a tough one for me, but I'm probably going to go with this is a tough one, but I'm just going to go with Ter Stegen. Again, probably the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment.
Just going to go with Ter Stegen.
I mean, his team is his team is not good, so that's where I'm a little bit concerned.
This might be one of the weakest Barca teams in a Champions League. That is my concern. So.
Yeah, and like I said, man, I'm talking about my U13 team. We thought we had it made. We were the best team, and once everyone caught up and figured us out, it was hard for us to get out of our old ways. Old habits die hard, and I don't think they're going to die hard until Messi ends up leaving and they restructure the whole thing. So I'm hoping with Ter Stegen playing. I just hope he plays the best soccer of his career, and I hope he goes out there and shows why he is the best goalkeeper in the world. And they might have to fight an uphill battle come the quarterfinals if they do, go over Napoli, but I'm going to go with him. And people might say I'm going with the big names, But I think there's a reason why those guys are the big names, because they've been consistent and they've proven it to us week in and week out. So hopefully those all go through. We'll see.
I want to say, by the way, Matt, if you weren't familiar about this, Omar's U13 team was called FC Barcelona. So the comparisons
they go deep. They go real deep. Yeah.
They even wore the Barcelona jerseys. You guys even had the jerseys.
Oh, wow.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, Matt, you.
God, it's really hard to. There's so many really, really good goalkeepers. Just because of who Omar had chose, I'm going to go out on a limb and choose some different ones. I'm going to choose Oblak because he's my favorite goalkeeper in the world. I can't pick against that guy. Just to me, he's the best. Especially in a time when modern goalkeepers are taking over and with all the distribution and the way they play, and the fact that he's played the traditional way and he's still so amazing and just continues to excel over and over and over again is just like such a huge testament that there's like another way to play as well. So Omar, nice.
Oh my God, hold on.
Look at that.
I gotta see that. Is that you?
That's my squad right there.
Oh my God.
It's when we won the regional tournament right here.
Oh my gosh. That is unreal, dude. Oh, you gotta love the jerseys too. Look at you guys with the medals. Go on, Matt.
I was until Omar took Neuer. I was going to take Neuer, but actually I'm going to take Gulacsi instead. Just because he's younger and I think he's got a higher ceiling. I think Neuer, he's not going to do anything that we haven't seen him do already. He's done an incredible job of regaining form because I did not think he was going to be able to do so. But I'm going to go with Gulacsi. Then I'm going to take Ederson instead of Courtois, just because of, what he's at the forefront of this change and the way that the game is played. And he's been in really, really good form, as good as Courtois has been. There's just something about and I don't like talking ill about any goalkeepers, but he just rubs me the wrong way. Maybe it's because he took over for like my favorite goalkeeper of all time, Peter Cech. That could definitely play a role, I'll be honest. But I'm going to choose Ederson. And then the last one, I'm going to take Ter Stegen. Again, just because for me, he's up there with Oblak. For me, it's like him, Alisson, Oblak are the top three. So I can't really choose against them.
Okay, my top four are Willy Caballero. No, I'm totally kidding. It's Caballero, Gollini, Lopez. No, all right. So my top four, I'm gonna go here. I agree in regards to Jan Oblak. I think honestly, we're talking about the best deep line playing goalkeeper in the world in regards to not playing high but playing drop. I think he drops line better than almost any goalkeeper in the world in regards to understanding when to retreat. And I think that's an art that a lot of goalkeepers don't understand. They just go for literally everything in the world. After Jan Oblak, I'm going to go with Ederson. I agree. I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Ederson fan at all because I'm not, but I got to give credit where credit is due. And he's on such form right now. I just think that Man City's playing so well right now. He is ripe and he can come up with big plays when necessary. It's sink or swim with Ederson. Like he could cost you too, but they're willing to risk it because of the way they play and it could work out for them. I'm going to go with Keylor Navas because I want to give respect to Keylor Navas. I think that Keylor Navas is in a position to showcase that it wasn't just the team that was in front of him when he was at Madrid, but that he was a high caliber keeper as well. I think against Atalanta, he's going to face shot after shot after shot after shot, which honestly, for Keylor Navas, that's great. I think he's better when he gets a lot of action than when he has to sit back for a while and then wait to make a play. I'll give an example. Costa Rica, for instance, when he plays for Costa Rica in the World Cup, he has to come up with a play after play, and it just keeps him motivated and focused all the time. Boom, 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 boom. And last but not least, I'm going with Ter Stegen. I think this is the weakest back four that Barcelona has had in a long, long time. I think there's going to be some moves made in in this transfer window. And if for Barcelona to advance deep into this tournament, Ter Stegen is going to have to come up with some plays. My only worry about it is that because Ter Stegen is so darn confident back there, the players he's playing with may not be at his level, and it could cost Barcelona an easy goal. That would be my only concern. But that's my top 4 right there. So, yeah. I'm still, hold on. Omar's got literally taggings behind him of his people.
Yeah, one of my teammates posted this on Instagram today on his story. So I was like, I'm gonna screenshot it, and then whenever I go silent, I'm looking for something good on my end over here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You guys could hear me that whole time I was giving that top 4, right? Because I couldn't hear anything in my headphones. So I was concerned that nobody could hear anything.
Oh, I could hear you.
We were speechless. Honestly, it was that good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Before we wrap up, who's going to win the Champions League? Who wants to start?
Man. I'm gonna go with. I'll go with Atletico Madrid.
Wow, I did not see that coming, man. That's deep. All right, Matt.
I made that face because that's what was going to come out of my mouth too.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, just because I think when you're actually looking at the way that they just like outplayed, well, depending on which way you look at it, but outplayed Liverpool in their series. Obviously, I know Liverpool had so many chances and Oblak saved the day, but also that's what Atletico does like a magnificent job of, is they sit back, they play defensively, and they play that low block, and they have people sacrificing their body, to block shots and make interceptions and transition play. But actually I'll go out on a limb. I'm going to say City. There is something there. I think it would just be amazing if they did. And as well, I'm just a big proponent of the Premier League. So I love when English teams do well, and I think it's safe to say Chelsea's not going to do well. So I'll go out on a limb and I'll take City.
I'm going to go against all you guys here, and I'm going to say Bayern Munich's going to win the Champions League. I think that
It's a good shout. Yeah.
They're due, and honestly, similar to Atletico, I think they're one of the most balanced teams at all positions left in the Champions League right here. I can't find a weak spot at Bayern Munich. Every player is a capable player at this level. And that to me, I think is going to make them go far. I mean, and they have a transcendent player in Robert Lewandowski, arguably one of the best goal scorers of our generation, in my opinion. 52 goals this year in all competitions or something ridiculous like that. It's just, it's absolutely scary. Yeah.
So there's no 2 legs in the quarterfinals. It's just play on.
Wait, is there? No, it's just one single elimination.
There's 2 legs. No,
there is 2 legs.
Okay. Oh, wait, is there? I'm looking at this right now. No, I think it's just one game.
No, it's just one. Yeah, it's just one.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
And then how do they determine where the games are played? Do you know?
No, they're playing all in a bubble.
Oh, I'm late to this party. Sorry.
They're playing they're playing in Lisbon, I believe.
Yeah, cut this part out, huh?
Yeah. they're playing in Lisbon, and they're playing the Europa League in Germany. By the way, before we go, man, Europa League was hard to watch this morning. I'm not gonna lie. That's a tough
level down.
That's a tough watch. I think guys just don't want to get hurt unless the team legitimately thinks they can win the Europa League and get a Champions League spot if they haven't already guaranteed a position in their league. I don't know what happened with the Man United game, but they did play. They were like 9 up or something like that on aggregate, so it was a high level. Yeah.
They won.
Right.
They won tonight 2-1.
Oh, they did. And I know Wolfsburg got blown out by your boys, dude. Shakhtar Donetsk, Omar.
Oh my God.
Those are your boys. Those are your boys. Okay. Real quick before we go, Matt, is there anyone in Europa League we should watch out for? Any keepers to keep an eye on for in the future?
God, I'm so bad with pronouncing his name, but Inter's goalkeeper, help me, Michael.
Oh yes.
How do you pronounce his name?
I don't know how to.
He's been
I
so
don't know
good
how
for
to,
so long.
Yes.
Handanovic. There you
yes.
go. I always struggle to pronounce it.
Handanovic.
There you go.
Yeah.
Whatever. Cut that part out too, Michael. Or dub it. Maybe dub it.
Yeah.
But he's been so good for so long. And I think he's one of those guys that's underrated that you just do not talk about. Super efficient. And he's not the type of guy who you would have ever thought would be a modern type keeper, because he's very much kind of like Oblak, the guy who sits back low on his line. But he's actually transformed, the way with interplays now, and they're building up out of the tightest of areas, and he's done an excellent job. So he's the guy I would definitely say keep an eye on.
I saw him had some plays too that I was actually reasonably surprised. I did not expect him to move the way that he did. Omar, is there anybody else you want to shout out?
No, I'm sorry. I zoned out for a half second, but no, I'm ready for these games, and I'm a avid soccer fan. I'm sorry. I had 3 sessions today.
I think we're gonna have to cut this episode.
Yeah. We're gonna have to cut all that stuff out. All right, guys.
Technical difficulties.
All right. If you want to check out all the great writing at The Athletic, you got to make sure that you get out there. If you want a special sneak preview to The Athletic and you want a little promo, you can just DM Matt, right? And he'll hook you up.
Yep, I still have a couple more of those available. So if you're interested, definitely reach out.
Nice. And what's the best place for them to reach out to you, Matt?
On Twitter at Matt Pyzdrowski. So
awesome, guys. And you know where to reach out to Omar at ProGK Academy_. Omar, anything cool in the works for the next couple weeks?
I did a membership program for young goalkeepers, and I'm thinking about doing one for coaches now. A lot of people have been reaching out to me, and I think it's going to be dropping, I think, September 1st. It's a community-based thing where we all share ideas, and it won't be expensive, but I think it's an opportunity for us to have PDF files of everyone's sessions and, break them down by level, by age group, how many goalkeepers are in a group. So I'm excited to drop that September, and it'll be exciting.
Cool. Awesome, guys. So be on the lookout for that. And remember, guest suggestion or topic suggestion at Goalkeeper Podcast on social media, or contact at Inside the 18. That's the number 18media.com. Shout out to all the insiders who reached out and asked us to do some Champions League coverage. That's why we got people like Matt Pyzdrowski, our resident European specialist, on board with us right here. That is all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.